To dedicate one's professional life to families and their well-being is truly remarkable. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. I'm Dorothy Sterlaxon. My guests today are Robert Schwab and Pete Bruno. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Pete Bruno has been an icon in the family community of Glendive for as many years as I can remember, going back 30 plus years, and soon will retire from Glendive, and Rob will be taking over Pete's Family Life Institute and parenting classes. Pete, congratulations on a wonderful career in Glendive, not over yet, but in Glendive, and Rob, good luck with your future here. Pete, talk about an overview of your career here in Glendive, if you would, please.
Be glad to. We actually started in eastern Montana in 1979 and came to Glendive early in 1985. Here in Glendive, I started with the Mental Health Center, and then I opened Great Plains Counseling Associates, and during that time I was consulting with pastors, and I began to see how effective they were in helping families with a ministry model as compared to a counseling model. And so I began to attend sort of an at-home, back then it was before online, but sort of an at-home course of study for seminary. And then when Alan Solheim came to town as a person who had been a theology professor, I was put together with him by the Evangelical Church, and it was just a wonderful partnership and helped me go ahead and actually finish my studies a year earlier than anticipated. And so that was just a great time of learning ministry. And so then after that, we started this Family Life Institute. We've been doing it ever since, with the parenting classes, with the marriage through Prepare and Enrich, just all sorts of things to help strengthen people in their relationships with their spouses, their partners, their kids, just looking at the family from a variety of angles through some very effective tools. One of the things that has happened over the years is we look more and more in this profession at what is effective, what actually works, not just what sounds like a good theory, but what actually is proven to help people. And that's all of what we do now. All of the things that we use are the best of the bunch, so to speak.
When you were growing up and going through the earlier years of your life, did you ever expect that you would have a calling to go in the ministry?
No, I never did. I had, by the time I was a senior in high school, I had a sense of that, but as a little kid in Arizona, not a clue. I was all about roundups and cattle and taking care of my dog and my horse.
But at some point then, you went into the counseling profession.
I did. I started college looking at geology, but I immediately fell in love with psychology. And so I changed my major and was blessed even then by having professors have me work for them and then seeing some potential in me that I didn't quite see and allowing me to take advanced classes, which is why I'm able now to do all of the psychological testing that usually a licensed clinical psychologist does. So all along the way, I've just been given opportunities that I never expected and have kind of paid dividends, not in terms of what I put in my pocket, but in terms of what I'm able to provide the community.
And you were able, as these opportunities came up in your life, to recognize that they were there and take advantage of them.
A little, yeah.
Parenting is probably the best job in the world and the most difficult. How do you communicate with parents, especially parents who are having issues with their children?
Well, one of the things that I've done for a long time now is get them in the right parenting class And then once we have a common understanding of the framework, the structure, the procedures, the process that works, then we can go ahead and talk about specific issues if they weren't answered in the parenting class. But it gives us both a common vocabulary and also an effective frame of reference so that they can go ahead and use these skills more effectively with individual kids, because each kid is not the same. Each kid is born with their own personality, and so one of the great things is that we can then go ahead and get that parenting class under their belt and then go ahead and work on specific applications if it's still necessary.
Do you find that parents come to you as a last resort, sometimes because they just don't know what to do with this kid?
I think that happens sometimes. Other times, there are people that are motivated throughout life, like myself, to continue learning. And I just finished another degree, the 14th, in addiction counseling, because I was encouraged to do that for the benefit of the college. So I have a lot of people that come to classes just because they want to do their best and they like learning.
Communication is huge in any relationship, but especially a marriage relationship or a parenting relationship. Talk a little bit about communication.
Well, it's interesting. With the Prepare Enrich process that we use from Life Innovations, which is another best practice effective program, one of the most common things that it recommends is that we work on communication and learn how to listen well, how to be assertive in a balanced way. I particularly like that about this program, is that it doesn't teach just plain asserting yourself, but how to assert yourself in a relationship in a balanced way is so important. But then we did research and we found out that through Montanans for Children, Youth, and Families that I'm still president of, that the least taught skill is conflict resolution in marriage. We don't get that in high school. We don't get that. We maybe on the job learn some communication skills, but not conflict resolution. And that's one of the real strengths of the program, and something that couples really need, particularly as we have more and more people working full-time or a full-time and a half-time job. There's just so much to do with raising kids and having a family, and so little time to really enjoy and also to effectively solve problems. So that's one of the real blessings of what we do, is we not only work on the communication, but also an effective way to resolve conflict. And doing this as long as I have, it's kind of fun for a couple to say to me, hey, you know what we learned 20 years ago? We still use that conflict resolution sheet when we can't figure something out. We sit down at the kitchen table and we work through that process, and hey, now we've got a solution to try.
Can you give us some, for instance, some examples of conflict resolution?
Of conflicts that people solve.
Do you
Dorothy,
want to demonstrate a conflict here?
Sure.
Oh, just kidding. Go ahead.
By the way, we're both German and we tease people we like, so we have to warn people about that. But nonetheless, it's so personal. It goes all the way from finances to sex to how to discipline the kids. I think maybe the last one we did was, how are we going to, when my style is different than your style, how are we going to agree on how to discipline the kids and handle it when we disagree? And so I tease people a lot about how, self-help books work really good for one person, the one who wrote it, and the rest of us have got to adapt them to ourselves. And that's the same thing with this conflict resolution stuff. We go ahead, we make a plan, we gotta road test it, we gotta go ahead and take it on a shakedown cruise and make sure that it's gonna work for us. And so we also teach them how to follow up and how to adjust their plans as well.
As you assess the community that you've been such an integral part of for all these years, Pete, do you see that we have a lot of problems in common as parents?
As parents? Well, yeah, the part about being so busy, and sometimes that busyness just overtakes our lives and we stop dating each other, we stop having fun. And so one of the common problems that I see is people need to go ahead and figure out how to enjoy each other as well as take care of careers and kids.
How do you find time and energy for that?
One of my favorite cartoons I talk with couples about is, it says Fred and Alice enjoy their Friday night date religiously, and she's in the chair, and he's got his head in the plate of spaghetti at the restaurant. So indeed, it takes planning. I had to go ahead and make my time with Corky an appointment. You know, it was there on my mental book that it was time that was taken. It wasn't going anywhere else but her.
And it worked.
And it works.